Queen word for this year.
Hello, Remo. Hello, you're from Ukraine. Very glad to meet you and see you.
Hello, Catherine. Thank you very much for inviting me for this exciting interview.
Tell me, please, a little bit about your activities for our viewers and readers. Where do you live? What do you do, etc.?
So I'm a guy from Switzerland. I'm 52 years old, and I live in Bern. It's the capital in the middle of Switzerland, around it with nice mountains and wonderful nature. And I have the privilege to live from photography and videography. And I do a lot of work for content and social media and online marketing concepts.
Remo, I know you haven't always been a photographer. You were quite successful in the restaurant business. How did photography come into your life?
That's an interesting question. And you did good work to see that before. So I started as a cook when I was a young guy, and then I made a hotel school, and I had a typical hotel career, which I had 10 years restaurant, an Italian restaurant. If you like Italian food,
Sure.
then you would like this restaurant. It's in the middle of the town in Bern, and I had also 2 bars and a club. Really the place to be in Bern, and people knew me as a as an entrepreneur in gastronomy and events. That was a long time my passion. It's still my passion for events, but I had the chance with 40. I sold my shares, and then I always liked photography. It was always my passion. And when I was a young guy, I remember my daddy gave me an old Canon T90, I think so. And then my passion for photography starts. But between 30 and 50, I was between 25 and 40, I was really in that gastronomy and events business. So the photography went a little bit behind, and I didn't have so much time to make this. And when I sold my shares for my restaurant, then I thought about what will I do in the future, and maybe it could be photography. So I started a school. That was 10 years ago, and followed really my passion because my friends and also a lot of people which know I had 70 people in my restaurant and club, and then I started to make photography. They said, "Hey, Remo, going crazy. That wouldn't work, and it's crazy to give up such a career." But for me, it was really the chance to do something new, and the chance to fill my, in German, is Rucksack, to fill my bag with new knowledge. And this part was wonderful because I learned a lot of new things. I learned photography with flashes. I never before photography with flashes. So it was totally new for me. I didn't have any idea about Photoshop and Lightroom. I started also this. And you can imagine, so the first 2 years were really hard. Also in to make progress, but I learn fast, and I'm a really ambitious person, which when I have a target, I want to go there. And one thing which a lot of people forget is that I have already the knowledge for entrepreneur. And if you have this knowledge for marketing, for social media, then you can do that also on another theme like photography and video. So I started to build up this career step by step. And that was the start for my new path, which I'm in totally now.
Remo, you work a lot with people and in particular with famous athletes, models, etc. Tell me a little bit about your approach to people. How do you get people to believe you and open up to your camera?
Yeah, that's a good question. So by the interview, you see my shirt. Huh? So if you can write, I hate mountains, it's only a joke. Hey? Maybe I have to take this one. So that people don't think, oh, this guy hates mountains and lives in Switzerland. So it's only a joke. Okay, about my relationship with people. So as a gastronom and events guy, I always loved people and love people. And I have to do a lot with people in all circumstances. They came to our restaurant, bars, and events. And that's my passion. So to do something with people is my passion. In the gastronomy and also events, I see a lot of people. Sometimes I've still an event, 2,500 people come all in white. That's the Migros party. And you can imagine you don't have such a long time when you say hello to them and say hello when they come for the event. So we have only maybe 10 seconds, 30 seconds with each person. And that's the nice part of photography. When I have time with some new people, models, and so you have more time to speak together. Sometimes you are the whole day together for a campaign or some shootings, and that's the part I like most. I'm going more to know who is behind the beautiful mask. Where is this person? And that's of course one thing which I like most to work with people. I started 10 years ago also asking people to make a photo session with me because I was totally unknown as a photographer. So I started, of course, people which I knew from the events time, and I knew a lot of people. So I only asked them, hey, I started to make photography, and would you join a day or half day for a shooting? And it started step by step. So several famous people said, hey, Remo, it's nice to be together a half day with you, and let's do it. And so I started to build up a step-by-step portfolio. And after 2 years, it turned. People saw my portfolio, and what I can say, I was really good already in social media. And without social media, I won't have any chance. So if you think 20 years ago, you start a new career in photography, but you can't show it, then you don't have the chance like you have it now. So I started to show my work. I started to show my work on Facebook, on Instagram, and people realized, hey, this guy, he can do, he understands his job. It's totally serious in what he's doing. And so the first jobs came. So the first jobs started to be realistic. I could offer my job, and I always said, what you show, you get. So if you show people famous people, you get famous people for your shootings. If you show weddings, you get asked for weddings. So this thing I knew, so I always tried to work with in this step, and I was also really interested in sport. So I'm a sporty guy. I like to kite surf and I like soccer, and I always went also in that direction, that people knew, okay, what he likes to do, and then I get a job for this. I also, one time I remember I could make an offer for a client. He asked me to make an offer, and there were 3 photographers which made this offer for a running athlete, which was our Olympia winner, Nicolas Spirig in Switzerland. And then I didn't get the job the first time. And I asked the client, why you didn't get the job for me? Then he said, you have nice portraits, but nothing with running. I don't see anything with running on your portfolio. Then I thought about it and said, yeah, he's right. I would make absolutely the same thing. So I asked a good runner in my area. She was also a running athlete. She was young and she didn't have any portfolio. So we worked together 2-3 days, totally for free. She made it for free. I made it for free. After these 3 days, I knew about making portraits or sport athletic pictures. Then I sent it to my client, and it wasn't my client then, but I sent it to him and said, okay, next time I'm ready. So the good thing was he wasn't satisfied with the other photographer. So he gave me the chance, and we work now together 6 years. And that's a good example to never give up the first time. So try it the second time, go for a second chance, and ask your possible client why he didn't choose you. So you can get this knowledge that you can do it the next time better. And so it was a highlight. I was together with this client in Gran Canaria. We had 1 week with this Olympia winner and made some wonderful pictures. Yes, so just wonderful. So that's the highlights for being a photographer.
Thank you for good advices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remo, I know that you shoot a lot with the medium format Pentax 645Z. Please tell me why Pentax.
So that's a good question. I started my career about 10 years ago. And when I started, I was always a Canon photographer. I started with the Canon 5D Mark II. So I was curious about the difference between mid-format camera and about working with Spiegler effects, out of a Canon. And then I bought the Pentax 645D. Mm-hmm. So it was the first mid-format from Pentax, because I thought, oh, that's a nice camera. I started with them. Then after 4 years, I had the big opportunity to make a photo shoot with Zinedina Zidana, with Ronaldo, with Maldini, with all these football guys. And I did that with my Canon 645D. And Pentax saw that and told me, we are working on a new camera on the 645Z. If I'm interested, I can go and be an ambassador from this part on. Then I said, oh, that would be an honor. So I started to work with the 645Z already when it came out. I remember I get a nice packet at home with the camera and with the objectives, and nice to work with this camera. And this camera, the 645 Z, is really in mid format, another jump from the 645D, because you can work like with a Canon. It's really fast. It's 5 years ago, huh? Not now, but 5 years ago, it's really fast. You don't use it with a mid-format camera. You use it like a normal camera, but the output, it's fantastic. The details also. I worked a lot with musicians, and I photographed these musicians with this camera. The details in the shadow and in the highlights, it's unbelievable. So I really made a lot with this camera. Also fashion shootings in Zermatt. Zermatt, it's a really nice area in Switzerland. And we made a calendar which is limited, like a little bit like the Pirelli. On Swiss, in Swiss style, I photographed that with this 645 set, and the mood to see that you can see a lot of reels on Instagram, which I took the 645 set. So that is the little bit the story about this camera.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your second main camera is Canon, right?
Absolutely. It's like this, that I realized about 4 years ago that video will be a real important thing in content too. Videography. And my cousin is a regisseur, a director, and he made in Hollywood, he made film school. So he's really good in what he do. And I started to make some film project with video and film project with him together. And I realized, okay, Pentax isn't the camera for filming, but Canon is already. I had also the Canon 5 Mark III, the Canon 5 Mark IV. So with the Canon, I could always make pictures and video. So I started to also ask my clients when we have a shooting, hey, are you interested also in have some little making of video? And I started that 4 years ago. So I really realized that video will be a part of content in the future. And that helps me to progress myself, my knowledge in video. And then last year, the Canon R5 came out. And this camera is unbelievable. So I saw that also in the advertisings, and the Pentax didn't make progress in the medium format, nothing. So it was still the same. So I decided to ask shop here in Bern, which knows me really good, which sells cameras, is Zumstein, if they want to have a work together. And they say, oh yes, please, let's work together. So we have a deal. So I got the Canon R5, which also with a deal. So I decided from now on to work with the Canon R5. And for landscape project like Sky and Sea, which I showed you, I still work with the Pentax 645 set because of the, I make prints of it. So I make 2 meter or 2.5 meter prints, which I have on exhibitions. Then it makes sense to work with the Pentax. But for my clients and also for the content which you need today, which it's a lot for social media, for websites, it's the Canon R5 which I prefer, because you can work so fast. Also with this autofocus, it makes exactly on your eyes. Autofocus, it goes automatically. You can work for fashion really, really fast. And you can make 2 hours photography, and then you can make video. And I have a lot of work. It's going like this. So Wednesday this week, I go to Furrero. It's a real nice Schmuck. Was heißt Schmuck? It's jewelry company in Switzerland. And I make footage for pictures, and I make footage for video. And I deliver that, edit, and so somebody else make that, but I can deliver content which high quality for good companies, and that's the market. I think it's going that direction.
Remo, you often have to work outside the studio and spend many hours in a row with the camera in the hand while shooting. How important are the technical aspects of the camera? For example, good battery, waterproof and dustproof system, durable camera carcass, lightweight, etc.
The most important thing for me is to know the camera. So exactly to know the camera is important, because for photograph famous people, you get 2 or 3 minutes. So as an example, Boris Johnson, 2.5 minutes, and you have to get out a good picture of it. So the most important thing is to know really your camera, also in pressure situations, because they come and then you have to deliver. And that's the most important thing. So I would say there are such many good cameras outside. Even it's heavy, it's light, it's underwater, it's, I don't care. So really, I don't care. For me, it's I have to know this camera. So in the system Pentax and also in the system Canon, I really like the manual. I understand that. So I remember 6 or 7 years ago, I tested also Hasselblad, and I didn't like it. So it was not what you get out of it. It's fantastic, but the manual, how you work with it, I didn't was. So I'm not I have to say, for me, I'm not a reader, I don't read. I take the camera and then I use it. And when I don't know something, I go to YouTube and give it in. And that's my art of me and working with the camera. And when I have to use the user manual, then I'm lost. And with Hasselblad, I have to use how I have to work with it. No, thank you. So get away. I decided to Pentax. And that it was, I like also by the Canon R5. You can use it blind. Huh? Really, you can say like this, you can use it and it works. So that's for me the most important thing. If I need something special, as an example, when we need for filmmaking a bigger camera, okay, we rent it. And then I say, okay, I need maybe a guy which can use this camera, and I only make the production, and I'm not behind the camera. But in most cases, the clients want to have me behind the camera, so I have to use a camera that I really know. And this camera, Pentax and Canon, I really know.
Can you tell me, several things in Pentax which you think the best in work with camera for you?
Yes. So the 645 set, which I use for landscape, is the resolution is fantastic. The resolution in combine with this easy manual, you can easily work with it. You understand it without to use user manual, and also it's not the lightest camera, but I don't care which which is really important is to know when you have to go for a mountain shoot or something else, and you have to deliver both video and a photo. Then, of course, you think about how heavy it is. If I only have to deliver a video, only deliver photo, and I want to make landscape, I take my bag, my Pentax is behind, two objectives, and I walk. That's it. I also really like to go outside. I do kite surfing, and I love the nature. So I go with the camera and the stuff. I walk. I take what I have in my pocket. So once I didn't have a wide angle on my camera because I had only a 70-200 objective with it for a long walk, which we make in Norway for a beach, which we have to go over a mountain to get on that beach because you can't drive and get there. So we walked over 2 hours with our bag, with the kite, with everything. And I said, oh, I want to have my camera with me. So I packed also a camera, but only with the 70-200. But I have the handy. So I took the mobile phone, the iPhone. So I took with the iPhone the wide range, and you can't believe it, I printed it out 2 meter, an iPhone picture, and I sold it. So you see, it's even the best camera is which you have it with you. And sometimes it's the iPhone. And of course, I would like to make this picture with the Pentax, and I did a lot with them. But on that on that scenery, I haven't my wide angle with me, so I used the iPhone.
Remo, what is the most important thing for you in your perfect shot, in your ideal shot? Composition, light, model, or something else? Maybe your good mood? I don't know.
I would say the moment you catch it, because you know I had the opportunity to meet so many interesting people, so wonderful places, and it's always the moment. So I could say, that's my favorite picture. No, I have a lot of favorite pictures and a lot of moments which I select with these pictures. And the most wonderful part, I realized it on my last exhibition around 1.5 years ago, before the Corona crisis came. I had a wonderful exhibition with my Sky and Sea project. And this project I started 5 years ago with landscapes. And in 2018, I went for 3 months on a journey with a camper. And I started in Portugal and go on until Norway, all on the west coast. And I had so many wonderful moments, which I really realized, that's so special, also for me. And afterwards, 1.5 years ago, I had this exhibition, and I could share these pictures with so many people, which came on that exhibition. It was around 700 to 900 people which came during this month on this exhibition. And the people ask me, where was it and what happens there, and I could talk 10 minutes about one picture, and people said, that's wonderful, I want to buy it, and that's so crazy for me, because I only shared a wonderful moment. Of course, I want to make a good picture, but the moment is the thing which I go in that pictures and have so emotions, which when I see a picture now, then I know the story behind it. And I realized also when I get together and speak about my work, then people like to know the story behind that picture. And there is no favorite picture. There are many favorite moments, which is a picture which I can tell you the story about.